So today I want to make this video about how to install an inline diffuser. So I've actually made this exact same video before a couple years ago when I first originally did the 90p a couple years back. But I just feel like I missed a lot of information in that video and it wasn't very good. It did get quite a bit of views, which is why I'm going to remake it, because I feel like as many people that watch that video, I feel like they definitely didn't get all the information. So that's why today I'm actually going to be making this one. I'm doing the 45C here today. So this is actually going to be a newer tank that you guys will be seeing here for 2022. So this will be the contest tank for, at least for ADA, for the 2022 season. So there's that. But yeah, if you're definitely not subscribed and you really like this tank, definitely follow along, because this tank's going to be pretty sweet once it's up and going. So I definitely, and if you like high-end setups, this is definitely the channel. So definitely subscribe if you into that stuff. But so it's okay. So what we got here, so obviously the filter I'm running is a Superjet, of course, and so the inline that I'm actually gonna be using is the GLA one. So in my opinion, honestly, the best inline diffuser. I mean, Seal Art makes one. I think even UNS has one, but I've trusted GLA for many years. Obviously, I have their regulators, and I just trust their brand. So, but yeah, you can use whatever one you trust, but for me personally in this video, I'm going to be using the GLA one. So if you guys are interested in this one, I will leave a link. So really, inline diffusers are pretty simple. There's nothing really that to them that really is that difficult. But I think the main thing that people will mess up is actually the direction, and that's one of the things in the first video that I screwed up on. Is I think I actually had it in the wrong direction, which was my bad. But so basically, the right direction is you want the CO2 to get diffused and go up into the diffuser. Obviously, if it was like this, well, your water's pushing here, and if it goes into here, you're basically just pushing huge CO2 bubbles out the tank, and it's not even touching the diffuser. It might touch it a little bit here at the end, but it's going to do nowhere near, obviously, what this is going to do. So when it comes in here, well, the water's pushing this way, and so that's pushing every bit of 100% CO2 in that diffuser, and so you're almost getting 100% diffusion at this point. Of course, a reactor is going to give you the best diffusion, and that's what I wanted to do with this tank, and I still might, but the ones that I like are just out of stock at the moment, so I'm just going to go with this one for now. So I might actually make an update video eventually installing a reactor instead, but for now we're just going to go with the inline. Inline works perfectly fine. There's no issues with it, but if you're definitely going for, the top, I think a reactor is definitely better for sure. But so basically you want to get your tube, so you can pretty much put this like anywhere. Also, you want it in the line that shoots out back into the tank. But when it comes to like where exactly, like where you should put it, it really does not matter. Of course, mine, I had to use a converter to convert it back to 13 so it fit this diffuser, of course, and the lily pipe. But I just basically, did about like 3 inches up from the main line, and then I'm just gonna put it right here. And then of course the other two will attach to that and then go out and then go into my output right there. So I'll put that on real quick. So I kind of got ahead of myself a little bit, but again, there's not much to this to where I can explain it. You guys can kind of clearly see, especially with this setup, it's all right there. So you guys will be able to see pretty well of everything I did, but I'll still explain it as best as I can, of course. So we got the other tube on, so obviously that goes out. Of course, I have, with the ADA one, that's the only thing that kind of sucks, is there's no really good way to disconnect it if you're ever doing maintenance. So I actually connected 2 disconnects, and then of course those just go up and go into our stainless pipes. But yeah, so obviously that's self-explanatory where those tubes go. But the main thing is, so basically this little nipple that comes out here is where obviously the CO2 is going to enter. And so right here I got my 5-pound setup, and usually have it pretty close together. Probably get it as close as you can together as possible, but even in like my 90p, like my CO2 will sit right here, my canister will sit over here, so maybe like a foot away from each other. But it's best to just keep it as close as possible, just so there's not a lot the CO2 doesn't have to push as much. Let's work on it. But so yeah, so obviously CO2 setup is a whole nother subject. So if you have questions on how actually like the CO2 works, I'll probably actually make another video redoing another CO2 video eventually too, explaining the setup at least a little bit better than I did in my other videos as well. But so obviously the CO2, this is obviously the bubble counter on here, so obviously a CO2 equivalent here, and it'll come through this line. This is just gray CO2 line. I was gonna do clear, but I had the ADA gray one, so I thought it looked a lot nicer, especially for under this cabinet. So I just went ahead and used that one. And so yeah, it goes up here, and then obviously I didn't want to go too tight because then it ends up kinking this, so I just kind of did like a loop to where it kind of holds itself, so a big loop. And I might change this eventually to make it look a little neater, but for now that just works perfectly fine. Just loops and no tension at all, just goes right to it, and you know, nothing's gonna actually affect it at all. But yeah, like I said, the CO2 goes in here. Obviously, when the flow is coming out here, it's gonna push that CO2 into that fuser. Obviously, it has nowhere else to go, so it forces it through that ceramic block. Basically makes it to micro bubbles, a fine mist, and then goes out the tube and then comes out and disperses it through your tank, and you know, quite simple. So obviously the main thing in this video is just this is the direction it needs to go in, so you can screenshot that or just pause this video and make sure yours is right, but that's the correct way to do it right there. And yeah, other than that, I don't want to make this video too long. I know a lot of you guys kind of hate when I ramble, so if you have any other questions, of course, you can comment down below. Or if you want to follow my Instagram at JJ Aquariums, I do post a lot on there, day-to-day updates and stuff like that, so you can really get involved in talking to me and DM me there. So that's definitely an option for some of you guys if you want. But yeah, other than that, comment, like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one.